In this lesson, we will learn about datetime functions. We will look at extract, dateadd, datediff, and date format over the next few videos. Datetime functions help with the date formats and manipulate the date-related columns, like we learned earlier. The first function is extract. It helps us to extract the specific parts of the day till microseconds. We could extract year, month, day, week, hour, second, etc. And all the individual date time extraction functions, they can be used directly with the extract function. So within this function, I can use year to extract the year, month to extract the month, etc. Let's understand this with the help of an example. So we have employees detailed data with us. Here are some of the rows and columns. So we have employee ID, their first name, last name, and the date on which they were hired. So our analytical team wants us to extract the week, month, and quarter of each employee's hire date. Can you figure out what the output will be? Pause the video and try to fill these new columns that will extract the week, month, and quarter. Did you get it right? Let's proceed to write the code on the Metabase and see how we can get this output. So first we will look at our data, which is employees details. So let's do select star, a table which is employees underscore detail. So let's have a look at the data. We can see employee ID, first name, last name, and their hire date. So these are the columns that we did this problem statement. Now let's say we want to extract month, week, and quarter of the joining date, hire date. So we'll do select. We'll select our column names. So the first column name is employee ID. So employee ID. Second column is the first name, first underscore name. The third column is going to pick last name also. Then a hire date. And now we want to extract first the week number. So we'll use extract function. And within this, the week function will work. So we can use week from the column name from which we want to extract it. So what this will do is it will extract the week from the hire date. You can call it as week expected. Similarly, I can use extract function and I can extract month in the month function. Month from hire date as month extracted. And last can do for quarter also. So quarter from hire underscore date as quarter expected. And now we can from our table name, which is employees detail. So what we have done is we have used extract function. Within the function, we can give the keyword for the function that we want to extract. For example, here we want to extract the week, month, and quarter. So week, month, and quarter, they work inside the extract function. I can run this. And we can see the expected output. So for April 20th, 2006, the week number is 16. April month is the month 4 of the year. January, February, March, and April. Quarter is 2. So the first quarter ends in March and then the second quarter ends with April. Similarly, for the second week, that 26th January falls in the 4th week of the year. And the month is obviously 1. Quarter is also 1. So we looked at the syntax, which is select our columns, then select function, and the date time function such as year, month, from our date column. These works within the abstract. Alright, so now we will look at date add and date diff function. So date add function is useful to add date parts to a date time column. So we can add month, days, week, etc. to a date time column. Similarly, we have date diff. It provides the number of days between two dates. So it is used to find the difference between two dates, and it returns the number of days between those two dates. Now let's understand this with an example. So let's say the company has 1 month probation period for all the employees after they get hired. You want to retrieve the employee record along with the column to get probation and date. We want to add a column here, which would be probation and date. That should contain 1 month after the joining date. Okay, so let's try to visualize the output. So we want to add a probation and column. Like I said, it should be 1 month after the hiring date. So for the first record, the hiring date is April 20. Again, so for the first record, for Barry, the hire date is April 20, 2006. The probation end date is 1 month after that date, which is May 20, 2006. Now let's head back to the database and let's code this. Alright, so we want to add 1 month to the hire date. So want to add probation date. So we'll do select and let's select these columns, the ones that we were selecting earlier in the last session. Now I want to add the date. I can use capital or small, is not case sensitive. So date underscore add. And then the syntax is very simple. The first argument is the input to which we want to add any date part, right? And the second one is we write interval. This means what interval of date you want to add, then the number of intervals, and then the type, which is whether you want to add month, year, right? So this interval will remain fixed. This is like number of months you want to add. The third argument is whether. So this is the count and this is the date part that you want to add. And we can call this as probation from our table, which is employee. So we can run this. Alright, so we can see has added the date. Let's say, just for an example, let's say to add year. And do that, I can just write here year. Save this, next. And we can run this. This will add 1 year to the hire date. From 2006, it became 2007. So it has added exactly. Alright, now let's suppose that we also add a column to get difference in days between employees' hire date and their probation end date. So now we can use date diff here. Right? Let's understand this. While on date diff, difference between hire date and probation end date. So I'll copy this syntax. I'll paste this. Now I want to add a column which will tell us the date difference. So we'll use date diff. Again, I can use capital or small, it is not case sensitive. Now the first argument of the date diff, it takes both the dates, right? So I need to provide the higher date and then the lower date. So probation date minus higher date will become the date difference. So the first argument will be probation and date. And we are finding probation here after adding one. I can use it directly and pass it as the first argument. So this will create this kind of date. And now as the second argument, I can provide higher date. And let's say we call it probation period, which is, we'll see, 30-day for each of the employee. I can run this. Alright, so now we can see the probation period based on the month that they joined in, right? It could be 30 or 31 days for April, because April is a 30-day month. That's why we see probation period comes out to be 30. January is a 31. It comes out to be 30. Right? So based on a month and weight. Alright, so we can look at the syntax of date add and date diff. So like we used in our example, date add takes two arguments. The first one is the date time column. And the second one is we want to tell what component of the date we want to, whether we want to add year, month, hour, etc. So we write interval keyword, which is fixed, and then the value that we want to add to the date. This is a numeric input. And the third is interval type, whether it's year, month, etc. And the second, let's look at the date diff, which, like I said, takes two inputs. Both are dates. The first date minus second date will be the output of the date diff in terms of number of days. Alright, so now we will look at date underscore format. So this function helps in formatting the date the way we want. Let's understand this with the help of an example. So let's say your analytics team want you to format each employee's hire date differently. They would like to see the weekday also, as well as the preceding other date information that we are seeing here. So essentially, before the date, we want to see weekday also, just like this. So this is the column that we want to add, which is formatted underscore date. So weekday Thursday, comma, the date that was coming in the date column. So date format function has the flexibility to do these kind of date formatting. So let's go to the metabase and see how we can do this using date underscore format. Alright, so the idea is to get formatted hire date. So we can do select. Again, I can use these columns that we have been using so far. We'll copy these columns. Now we will use date underscore format. Now the function takes as the argument the date that we want to format. So we want to format hire underscore date. Now the second argument is very important. So using the second argument, I need to provide the format. Now the format is like this. So %w means that I want to extract the weekday. Right? We'll look, I'll tell more about how to understand more about this. $M means that we want to write the month name, right? Complete month name, whether it's April, January, etc. Right? And then there is $D. You look at this, right? There is a month name written in string. Then we have date. Then we have comma. We have year. So to write the complete year, we use capital Y, like this. So now this will format my date, and we can look at the output. So our column or table name is employee underscore detail. So we can run this and let's see what we get in the output. Alright, so we can see that this has been formatted into the way that we want it to. So this is showing us the expected output. All right, now we can look at various date formats in SQL. For example, if you look at this, we have these %B, which means that a short form for the month. %A would mean short form for the weekday. And there is the month name, right? We can use R. This is what we use capital M to get the complete month, right? Then we had capital W to get the weekday, whether it's Sunday, Saturday, etc. And then capital Y to get the 4-digit date. All right, so let's look at the syntax like we used it. So we can select our columns, then you can use date format function. Within the date format function, we need to provide the date time column and then the format in which we want to convert it. Now we can look at different formats online, like there is small y, small m, these kind of formats. We can also go to month, hour, etc. to extract those kind of formats. Alright, so over these course of videos, we looked at extract, which is used to extract the specific part of the date. It can go till microsecond. And in all individual date time extract function, they work with this extract. We can use year, month, etc. Then we looked at date add function, which is used to add date parts to a specific date time column. We could add year, month, etc. Then there is a date diff, which is used to find the difference between dates in terms of the number of days. Then we have date format, which is used to format the dates the way we want to see it.